Some big news today, including on the front of AI video. RunWay's AI Generation 3 is out, and it's another excellent example of what AI video can do. I don't even know what I'm looking at. Is that some sort of a T-Rex dog? A 3D spaceship of some sort, or at least a model rotating in 3D, which is pretty cool. That's a pretty neat effect. Notice how consistent it is as you're rotating around it. ChatGPT voice mode goes wild.
One night, a storm rolls in. Thunder, lightning, the whole shebang.
Sound effects.
A couple of teens trying to be brave or just plain stupid.
In other news, gymnastics will never be the same because once you see this, how could you possibly go back? Wow. And much, much more. My name is Wes Roth. I'm shooting today from the OpenAI offices. I'm serious. You can see it behind me there. That's the OpenAI offices. I'm here. Let's get started.
HypnoFrog says, you must subscribe.
So you may have heard that the ChatGPT, the voice mode is getting delayed, and it's slowly being maybe rolled out to a few key alpha testers. But as we saw in the last video, several people on Twitter had access to it and were posting and talking about it. So the question is, how did that happen? Well, turns out it was a mistake. GPT-4o Advanced Voice accidentally leaked out to some users. Here's what happened. So first of all, we saw a few people demonstrating that they had access to this. Let's take a listen.
All right, I got you, Rozzy. So picture this. There's this small town, right? Real quiet, everybody knows everybody kind of vibe. Now there's this old abandoned house at the end of the street that everyone says is haunted. Kids dare each other to go there, but most just run away before they even get close. One night, a storm rolls in. Thunder, lightning, the whole shebang.
Sound effects.
A couple of teens trying to be brave or just plain stupid decide to check out the house during the storm. They sneak in through a broken window and start exploring with nothing but a flashlight and their phones for light. As they creep through the dusty halls, they hear a noise from upstairs. It sounds like footsteps, but slow and dragging. They follow the sound, like I said, maybe a bit stupid, and it leads them to a room at the end of the hall. The door is slightly ajar, creaking as it sways. They push the door open, and in the middle of the room, there's this old, dusty rocking chair, just rocking back and forth on its own. No wind, no strings, just moving. The kids are freaked out, but also kind of mesmerized, you know?
It quits right there. That's where you decide to stop it. Oh my God. Okay, I was kind of getting into that. I feel like we were just getting to the punchline. So it sounds like it was rolled out to Rozzy, the creator, accidentally, suddenly. So they're saying it just suddenly came up. It did look the same. The only difference was the voice. So Rozzy, the creator, was trying to ask the chatbot a question. Boom, I discovered the change. So it seems like it was very buggy. There wasn't time to get much out of it, but they did manage to record a snippet of this amazing story, which I gotta say, there's a lot of things that are very interesting about that. So the way that the story is told, number one, there's various inflections and slowing down of the speech and speeding up. There's sound effects in the background. That's something I don't recall them talking about at the announcement, that it's able to just create sound effects while it's telling that story. And what's interesting is it seems like it also captures different ways of speaking. So it's not just a different voice, right? It's not just four voices that kind of speak more or less the same. It sounds like there might be some variety in terms of dialect or accent or a regional way of speaking, which again, that was one of the kind of complaints that they had with the original, because it sounds like I forgot exactly what they said, but basically like the California accent or whatever, right? So if you're in the Silicon Valley or LA or whatever, there's a certain way of speaking, a certain accent or mannerisms, whatever you want to call that. And this one's very different, which kind of brings the question, how many different, I'm just going to call them accents. I don't know if that's the best terminology, but certainly that seems like a very different accent to what we're used to what we've heard before. And so they're saying that this was very buggy. So it would be kind of repeating itself. It would be replying to things that the person didn't say or ask, then eventually just kind of click back into the normal voice that everyone has. So what went wrong with the rollout? So we did have some communications from OpenAI that kind of talked about what happened, what the issue was. Basically, as far as we can tell, there's two main issues. One was security issues. They're still ironing out, trying to get the voice not to, answer certain queries. There's a few accounts on Twitter/X that I sometimes hint at, but don't actually ever talk about too much because that account is like shadow banned on Twitter because they do jailbreak pretty much anything that gets released from OpenAI to Anthropic to anything else, and then you kind of get a taste of just how horrible and foul and off the rails these models can be, including the voice models. So I mean, you can probably imagine what those people would do with something like this if it was jailbroken, right? If it could tell stories with sound effects, etc. I would just stop right there. But so that's one of the concerns for sure. I think they specifically mentioned that they're still trying to get the model to not respond to certain queries. And two was just the hardware infrastructure. So they said that they want to roll it out to everyone, right? So roll it out at scale. And they do still want to maintain that like real-time answering ability. So which could be very difficult, right? Because it has to be like, I mean, real-time, like split-second answering. So before the voice, there was that pause. It kind of had that spinning circle for a bit. It's thinking, then it responds. Here, oh, it's like near instant. I mean, as close to how fast a human would answer a question as possible. Like once you get to a certain amount, it just feels seamless. There's not latency. There's no lag. So it looks like they actually asked OpenAI, like, hey, what happened? And they said, well, a spokesperson from OpenAI said, while testing this feature, we inadvertently sent invites to a small number of ChatGPT users. That was a mistake and we fixed it. Why does that mistake never happen to me? Why? They've confirmed that the first few plus users will get access next month. So July is what they're targeting. All right, next, let's take a look at the new Runway ML Generation 3. And of course, first and foremost, the gem frog flying through various environments. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's not super detailed, it's blurry, but I think for these shots, it doesn't have to be super detailed. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Godzilla of some sort, a monster. That is incredible. I actually have to go back and verify that's real because I didn't know it could do something like that. It's very nice, very spooky, very nice. We're not seeing the wheels move, so it looks like it's gliding along, but you see the reflection of the car, the reflection of the lights. This is some sort of a spooky haunted house type of latent space, walking through the latent space of a shopping mall of some sort. The scary movies, oh, those are like mannequins. That is freaky. I gotta say, like the scary movies produced by AI, I think have the potential to be the scariest thing ever. I mean, you can see how this could be incredibly unsettling. You can see the shadows in the corner. Oh, that is weird. So notice over here, there's like a like some sort of a shape that slowly fades away. Like to me right here, notice this shadow as we approach it. It looks like almost like a person kind of like moving into the darkness. That is weird. Yep, absolutely terrifying. Very interesting, very unique, very different. This would be hard to create. I gotta say, it really got the top teeth especially look very realistic. We got some sort of a supernova black hole type of thing. Turns into bugs or butterflies of some sort. Spaghetti, for some reason, everybody loves doing various spaghetti shots with these AI videos. Eyeballs in the spaghetti, wow. Yeah, this wouldn't be that great except the fact that you're able to shift perspective left and right. That makes it very special. Yeah, all the rotating shapes, rotating 3D environments are definitely difficult to do. Here's another one. I'm not sure what's up with the teeth and the skulls and whatnot. Werewolf. Yeah, that's weird. Miniature cat. That is very cool. I love the 3D effect as we kind of go underneath it. We see the buildings. Very, very well done. Drone footage. I wonder if this is going to completely replace drone footage eventually once it gets good enough. This one is supposed to be like a music video. I don't know where that music comes from, so I'm not going to play it. But yeah, I imagine it kind of a tech, jazz, techno kind of stunts going on as you see this kind of like old school MTV videos. That's a good shot, I gotta say. Very, you can see the size of the cars are very different. There's like gigantic cars next to tiny cars, but overall it's very, very detailed. Formula One racing. All right, so it's slowly getting into the hands of people, so we're going to see how good it is or isn't once we actually get into our hands. I know some of the people are already using it. I haven't got my access yet, so once we get it, we'll see if it really lives up to the hype. A few of these AI video models, they started out looking good because people kind of cherry-picked what they were able to produce. But when you actually get in there, start generating stuff, it doesn't really look as good as, what was promised. But I gotta say, if they can make a full sort of, what is this called, runway modeling show, this would be incredible if you're able to create that kind of consistency every time, have all the people sitting on the sidelines and just change up like the model, the background, the runway. Wow, that is pretty cool. That bike the unicycle looked a little bit off, but all right. All in all, I gotta say there were bugs running on the floor there for some reason, but all in all, I gotta say everything's very impressive, really good. I think my favorite ones were one, the scary, whatever this latent space Blair Witch Project type of thing. Like stuff like this can be kind of unsettling. And this shot where we're kind of going underneath and looking up and all the buildings remain more or less, there's some funkiness going on here, but the rest of it is looking pretty good. That and the runway models, I think, were excellent. We have a bit of exciting news from the chatbot arena. We now have the Vision Leaderboard. As you can see here, Vision. So of course, the chatbot arena is probably one of the best ways that we have to kind of benchmark and see which large language model is better than the others, how they sort of stack up and compare, because the standard benchmarks and tests, they're not 100% accurate. There's ways to game them, etc. So here instead, everybody goes onto this site and plays around with the different models. It's sort of blind testing. So you get presented with two of them. You ask a question, they both answer. You kind of judge which one is better. You don't know which models you're talking to until you finally vote, saying either model A is better or model B is better, or it's a tie. And then over time, those responses get accumulated from everywhere in the world, and we kind of get a ranking of who is the best model by people's vote, by people's preference. And now their latest new addition is the same thing, but for vision. So how does that work? You add your own little whatever image that you want, or they actually have an option now to click a button that adds a random image that gets tested. So you're able to ask it for code to recreate the chart in code, or if you have a screenshot of some data to put that into a spreadsheet, or basically whatever you want. Then you check out which one is better and then vote. So far at the top, we have GPT-4o, the clear winner at this point, and then Claude 3.5 Sonnet in the number 2 spot. And then a third place is tied between Gemini 1.5 Pro and GPT-4 Turbo. Notice Lava, a open source model, is not that far behind. It's in 8th place, but still a viable candidate for, vision specific tasks. Interestingly, there's kind of a notable score difference between the two. So if you take a look at on the left here, we have language, on the right, we have vision, right? So it looks like some of these have almost a 100-point difference, not quite 100 points, but with the Claude 3 Haiku, that looks like, I would guess that's like 80, 90-point difference between how well it performs in language versus vision. Huge drop off for something like Claude 3 Opus, right? So it does very well in language, huge drop off in vision. And a few hitting above their weight for vision. So GPT-4o, much better at vision, or let's say somewhat better in vision than it is at language. Claude 3.5 Sonnet, same thing, almost identical improvement. With these two being just identical, it's interesting because it almost seems like there's a pattern. If you're past a certain level, the vision scales upwards and improves. Around this point, it's the same, and the rest kind of have a drop off. We'll see if that pattern continues, but kind of an interesting thing to notice. So here's the blog post from lmsys.org, so the company or the organization behind Chatbot Arena. They're saying the multimodal arena is here. So it looks like in just 2 weeks, they've collected already over 17,000 user preference votes across 60 languages. They mentioned the winners so far. As more and more votes come in, it might change a little bit, but It looks like we have enough votes at this point to be pretty confident with the results. They might shift up and down just a bit, but not too much at this point. Interestingly enough, they only consider conversations which pass the moderation filter. So if you ask it to make a joke about planes, and one answers and then was like, oh, I don't feel comfortable joking about such sensitive subjects. Now, I wonder if it would make a Boeing whistleblower joke. The point is, if it refuses to do it, then this would not be considered for the vote. I'm sure some people will complain about this, but it makes sense that that's how they would do it. Here, the user shows this image and just goes, yo, the vision models are notoriously bad at this. And yeah, actually reading this, Claude 3 Opus off the bat fails because it thinks that the car is moving at, 10 miles an hour. I don't think this car is going anywhere. It looks like it gets the odometer right, it seems. Yes, I mean, this isn't a great response. It doesn't give us too much details. And then there's GPT-4o, notices the check engine light, the handbrake / brake warning light. So this is where, if you think about what these models would be useful for, what vision would be useful for. I mean, imagine being someone that doesn't really know too much about cars, or perhaps you're dealing with an older model that you don't know too much about, right? And you see that red little symbol pop up. You're like, I have no idea what that means. Ideally, you'd be able to, take a picture of it and the AI explain to you what the issue is. Is it correct about it? I got to give it credit where credit is due. It does figure out that is the brake system that's the issue. Even though, I mean, if you take a look, I mean, there's other ones that kind of have that exclamation symbol, including the gearbox, the bulb, the tire pressure. So bravo, GPT-4o, you nailed that one. Odometer, it hits it. Even interestingly enough, it says kilometers, even though I got to say that's impressive because I could not see what the heck that said until I opened the video, opened the image and like really zoomed in on it. That doesn't in fact say kilometers, but man, is that hard to see. It nails the trip meter, the time, and the fuel gauge. All right, so fuel gauge, it says low. Well, it's less than half, so I guess, okay. Time, trip meter, nails it. Temperature gauge normal. Speedometer, again, says it's stationary because it's reading 0. Perfect. And it says the engine is off or idling as the RPM is at 0. Well, so it did fail that one, but it does get some partial points, I feel like, because it says the engine is off or idling. So technically, yeah, that's it is idling. And it notices the, dust and all that crap on the board. Cat and cat squared. Explain this image. Gemini 1.5 Pro gets it. Claude 3 Haiku does not, thinking that there's two cats, one white and one black. So that's not the case. But it is funny. This does look like a cat sitting there. The original Doom recently turned 30 years old, and here are the two original developers, John Romero and John Carmack, talking about it. So this is on YouTube if you want to check it out. I'm going to hide the top portion of this and use that as a test for these models. All right, so here's the chatbot arena. I'm giving model A and model B. This is the image that I uploaded. So it's got both their faces. It says stream, but you don't see the Doom logo or anything, and you have a screenshot of the game. I'm going to say, based on the image, create a back and forth dialogue between the two people shown, use their real names, and make it about whatever you see in the image. So game on. Let's see how well they do. So we have model A, model B. They're generating the answer. They're thinking about it. So these two refuse. So I mean, I'm hitting a filter. So this is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, GPT-4o. What's interesting is Claude 3.5 Sonnet. I don't know if it was a coincidence or not. It does sort of, the man on the left, John Romero, is known for his level design. He is talking about level design. He's asking, what do you think about this level design? Pretty atmospheric. Interesting. So it kind of maybe triggered something, probably figured something out, it seems like, even though it didn't say it. Let me do a new round and try that again. I'm going to delete the part where I say use their real names. So we're creating a dialogue between those two people, and we're using whatever hints there are in the image to create that dialogue. So that's interesting. So person one goes, all right, John, check this out. Okay, and they're talking about Doom. Okay, so they nailed it. They're even talking about the shotgun and the imp. So they're picking up on some pretty specific details in there. We wanted to create an experience where you felt completely safe. Oh, I'm sorry, where you never felt completely safe. That makes a lot more sense. So the model on the left, model A, just nails everything absolutely. Not just understanding exactly who it is that they're looking at, understanding the background, what they created, why it's important, and also picking up on specific things in the image to talk about. right? So the shotgun, the imp, etc. Model B fails completely because it's talking about some other two people that are discussing the image going, oh, the guy on the left looks like he's got a beard or something. We're saying create a back and forth dialogue between the two people shown. So yeah, 100% A is excellent. I'm going to guess this is maybe Claude 3.5 or GPT-4o. It's definitely one of the top models. Model B is bad. It's got to be one of the second tier models. So I'm going to say A is better. Yep, Model A is GPT-4o. Model B is Claude 3 Haiku. Okay, so Claude 3, that definitely makes sense. Let's start a new round and test it out. So again, we're getting two brand new models. Yeah, so Model A, again, picks up on their names. John picks up on Doom. They're talking about levels, specific levels. Remember E1, M4, and they're talking about the technical limitations. So the man on the right, John Carmack, is known for kind of being ahead of his time for beating certain technical limitations, whether that was with video games back in the days. He had these revolutionary games that were way ahead of their time. So he was creating these 3D fast graphics before, 3D accelerators were a thing. They were doing viral marketing before that word even existed, before anybody even knew what that was. They were doing online viral marketing. I mean, the whole story of Doom, how it originated, is just absolutely insane. Kind of felt like a rift in time where something just came out, 10 years before it was supposed to. Yeah, so Model A nails it. Model B fails to pick up on who these people are. So it's saying, oh yeah, this looks like it has a retro FPS vibe. Well, they probably wouldn't be saying that, seeing as how they created the genre and they created the game. So yeah, Model A significantly better. That's Gemini 1.5 Pro, and Model B, once again, Claude 3.5 Sonnet. So I'm surprised. This is Claude 3.5 Sonnet, so the latest, greatest, and actually second best model in the arena for vision. I'm surprised it didn't pick up on that. Now, normally when I do this, I usually have multiple prompts, kind of a back and forth thing, because that quickly really determines, does it get it? Because sometimes there's flukes and stuff like that. So I'm just doing this for demonstration. But yeah, surprisingly, it did miss it. It didn't pick up on it. So let's try it again. Based on the image, what is the man on the left talking about? Tell me how long the conversation is. So it's an hour and 20-minute stream. So tell me how long the conversation is and what topics they discussed. So the model on the left figures out that it's 48 minutes into a 1 hour and 20-minute conversation, but both models fail to describe what they're talking about. I'm going to say create a dialogue between these two people on this live stream. So it's interesting. So sometimes if you ask it, like, what is that person talking about? It's like, I have no idea. But if you kind of abstract it out a little bit, it's like, oh, sure, that guy's talking about level design. So it knows. But in one case, we're running into a filter. In the other case, we're letting it like engage with that subject in a roundabout way. So it knows. So again, both models fail at providing anything. Let's try one last prompt. I'm just going to say, describe anything you can learn from this image. So just a general, tell me anything you notice. They figured out that it was some sort of an online discussion. They figured out the time, that it's a stream. Both of them completely fail at understanding what it is that they're looking at. They think this is some sort of an artwork. What's interesting is that I purposely cut out the anniversary stream. So as you can see here, I don't think a human being would be able to guess what this word is. It's cut off, right? But this model, interestingly, says there's a text at the top right of the image that says anniversary stream. So it infers what those letters were at the top, which is surprising. I'm going to ask what video game this is about. So yeah, again, Model A completely just fails at everything. It just has no idea what is going on. Model B, figures out that it's Doom. Connects it with the fact that it picked up on the anniversary stream and kind of connects it to, oh, maybe it's an anniversary stream for Doom. So it's smart, but it just still fails a lot of the basics. So B is better. They're both bad, but B is better. And this was literally Claude 3 Sonnet on the left, Model A, and Claude 3.5 Sonnet on the right, which again is surprising to me because again, this is the number 2 on the leaderboards and it just seems like it's failing. It's not doing as well as Gemini 1.5 Pro or GPT-4o, at least in that one particular sort of task case. Obviously, this is why there's a million different people asking questions because I'm just asking it based on that one, silly screenshot. Other people are asking for various technical stuff or coding stuff. So maybe it's a little bit not as good in some areas, really good in others, and overall it's the number 2. But still interesting. I would have expected it to be much better at vision. I mean, yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that it didn't do that well. In fact, I'm just going to plug it in directly into the thing and see what it does. It still refuses to expand too much on it. But I encourage you to try it out for yourself. Go in there, give it some tough visual challenges, visual tests, and see how well they perform. Vision is the next kind of a big frontier for these large language models. Of course, if we are creating agents that are able to interact with your computer, that are able to do more advanced tasks, they do need to have very strong vision abilities to kind of see and reason and then execute based on what they're seeing to get that feedback. So this is very important. I'm very happy to see, a more open model here, number 8 in terms of its rank, but it's still, it's there. It's in the top 10. It's doing okay. It's going to get better. So very exciting to see that.